She said she was not our problem anymore while I was lying on an operating table with my chest cracked open and my heart exposed to bright white surgical lights. That same afternoon, she posted a brunch selfie with my parents smiling around crystal glasses and white plates. Caption, living our best life. 47 people liked it. My mother commented a heart. My father said nothing. 5 years later, they stood at my front door, and for the first time in my life, I was the one who got to decide. My name is Dulcie, and I am about to tell you the story they tried to erase. I was 28 when my heart nearly stopped in a grocery store aisle. The eggs shattered on the floor. My knees gave out. A stranger held my head. And the last clear thought in my mind before the darkness swallowed me was call my parents. I grew up learning how to survive quietly because in my family, loud love belonged to my sister, Meredith. She was 3 years older, beautiful, effortless, magnetic. Every room bent toward her. Every conversation circled her. Every celebration centered her. I was the sick child, the expensive child, the inconvenient reminder that life does not always arrive perfect. By 16, I already had scars. By 18, I already owed hospitals more money than I could imagine. By 21, I learned to swallow disappointment without making noise. Every Sunday evening, I called my mother. I would sit on my bed, dial the number, and wait. She always answered. We spoke for 4 minutes. Then Meredith's laughter would rise in the background. And my mother would say, I will call you back, honey. She never did. I still sent birthday cards, still texted my father on holidays, still waited for invitations that never arrived. On social media, I watched their lives unfold without me. Country club dinners, beach vacations, holiday tables, always 3 chairs, never 4. Once I scrolled back 3 full years, not a single photograph included me. When I was 16, my father once said at dinner, we have spent $140,000 on your heart. Your sister has not cost us a dime. Think about that. I thought about it every single day. At 28, I lived alone in a tiny 3rd-floor studio, worked as an accountant, paid student loans, paid medical bills, saved nothing, survived everything. That Tuesday evening in October, I stopped surviving. Pain exploded inside my chest, white hot, blinding. I collapsed. The doctor said acute aortic dissection, emergency surgery. No time to wait. A nurse leaned over me and asked, who should we call? I gave them my parents' number. Meredith answered. She said she is not our problem anymore. Please remove this number. Then she hung up. 6 hours later, I woke up alive, but alone. No flowers, no parents, no sister, only machines and a nurse named Nora. She told me they refused to come. I stayed in that hospital bed for 2 weeks. My chest stapled shut, my heart stitched together, my life suspended in silence. I called my mother. Voicemail. I called my father. Voicemail. I texted Meredith, I am in the hospital. She saw it. She never replied. The bills came. $180,000. My job vanished. My rent increased. And my family disappeared. That night I opened Instagram. Meredith posted a smiling dinner photo. My parents glowing. Caption, Sunday dinner with my favorite people. A comment read, where is your sister? Meredith replied, oh, she is doing her own thing. Her own thing. I was learning how to breathe again. When they discharged me, I took a cab home, climbed 3 flights of stairs, collapsed on my kitchen floor. No one checked on me. No one came. Then 6 days later, the doorbell rang. A man stood there with familiar eyes, silver hair, kind voice. Uncle Richard, the one family member who never forgot me. We sat at my kitchen table. He listened. Then he said quietly, your father did the same thing to me. He lost everything. They erased him. Fail and you become invisible. That night I saw Meredith's public post. She told the world I abandoned the family. that I refused invitations, that I distanced myself. Hundreds of people believed her. My parents supported her version. I took screenshots, saved emails, archived texts because I finally understood. She had been rewriting my life for years. The surgery simply revealed the truth. I confronted her. She laughed. Nobody will believe you over me. That was the moment something inside me changed. 2 days later, Uncle Richard returned with a manila envelope. Inside was a house key, a real house in my name. He had bought it 6 years earlier, placed it in a trust, built a safety net I never knew existed. Every property, every account, every investment, all of it was for me. Not someday. Now. He said I watched them erase you. So I wrote you into my future. That house saved my life. But it was what came next that changed everything. Because 5 years later, they showed up. All 3 of them. Standing at my front door. Older. Nervous. Smiles stretched thin. My mother said we heard you were doing well. Meredith said we missed you. My father said families should forgive. They did not know that I now own 5 rental properties, a paid-off home, a thriving financial firm, and a trust fund they could never touch. They only saw the girl they once discarded, and they expected her to stay small. But I was no longer small. They asked to come in. I said no. They asked to talk. I said I am listening. They apologized, but their apologies were hollow. Not regret, just calculation. They needed something. Money, care, forgiveness, access. They had learned Uncle Richard left everything to me. And suddenly, I mattered again. I listened. Then I said something none of them expected. I forgive you. Their faces lit up. But forgiveness does not mean access. And forgiveness does not mean forgetting. You taught me exactly who you are. And I finally believe you. Then I closed the door. Not in anger, but in peace. Because the hardest lesson ever learned is that sometimes family is not who shares your blood, but who shows up when your heart is breaking. When I closed the door, their shadows stayed frozen on my porch for several seconds. I watched through the window as they stood there confused, embarrassed, uncertain. For the first time in their lives, they were the ones left outside. I leaned my back against the door and let my breath fall slow. Not shaking, not crying, just breathing. 5 years earlier, I would have collapsed into tears, begged them to stay, asked what I did wrong. But 5 years changes you, especially when those years are spent learning how to survive alone. After Uncle Richard gave me the house key, everything slowly shifted. Not overnight, not magically, but steadily. He helped me move into the Litchfield house while my chest was still healing. He painted walls, fixed stairs, installed railings. He cooked meals and froze portions, labeled everything. Every morning he showed up with tools and patience, teaching me things no one ever had. How to patch drywall, how to replace broken tiles, how to check water pressure, how to budget, how to invest, how to protect myself. He never once spoke badly about my parents, never cursed Meredith. He simply said watch patterns, not words. So I watched. I watched how my parents never called. Even after they learned I owned a house, even after I returned to work, even after I rebuilt my life, I watched how Meredith posted about success, luxury, trips, parties, and quietly asked cousins about money because her life was not as perfect as it looked. Uncle Richard taught me how to invest the trust income. We bought small fixer-upper properties, one by one, slowly, safely. Every dollar reinvested, every repair planned, every tenant screened carefully. By 30, I owned 2 properties. By 32, I owned 4. By 33, I had enough income to leave my accounting job and start my own consulting firm. I worked harder than I ever had because for the first time I was working for myself. I slept better, breathed deeper, smiled more, I became someone I never imagined I could be. Strong, independent, unbreakable. Then Uncle Richard got sick. Lung cancer. Advanced. He never complained. Never panicked. He only asked one thing: protect yourself. When he passed, I cried for days. Not loud, dramatic tears, but silent sobs that shook my ribs. Because he was the only parent I ever truly had. At his funeral, only 3 people came from my family. Cousins. Not my parents. Not Meredith. They sent flowers with a short card. Our condolences. That was all. 6 months later, my parents started calling. At first once a month, then once a week, then every few days. I did not answer. Then Meredith messaged, "Hope you're doing well. Miss you." No apology, no acknowledgement, just a soft entry point. I still did not respond until the day they showed up at my door. They said they heard about the inheritance, about the properties, about my success. They said they were proud. They said family should reconnect. But behind every word I heard calculation. My mother needed medical help. My father had debt. Meredith had failed investments. They needed me, but they did not need me before. And that difference mattered. After I closed the door that day, I did something I never expected. I sat down and wrote them a letter, not to send, just to release. Every moment, every memory, every wound. I wrote about hospital silence, empty birthdays, ignored messages, rewritten stories. When I finished, the pages were soaked. Then I burned them. Because healing does not require confrontation, only clarity. 3 months later, Meredith tried again. This time she cried, said she was sorry, said she had been insecure, jealous, afraid of losing attention. She admitted manipulating situations, lying, filtering messages. She said she never meant for it to go that far. I listened, and for the first time, I understood. She was not evil. She was afraid. But fear does not excuse cruelty. So I forgave her. But I did not let her back in. Because forgiveness does not require access. My parents never apologized. They still blamed stress, misunderstandings, bad communication. They never once said, "I failed you." And that told me everything. Now I live quietly, in a house built by love, not blood. I sponsor heart surgery patients, help them with bills, ride with them to appointments. I speak at recovery centers, tell people their story matters, because someone once told me not to let them rewrite mine. And I finally listened. If you're listening to this and feel forgotten, erased, invisible, remember this: the family you build will always be stronger than the one you were born into. And sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living well. They thought I was still the same girl, the quiet one, the fragile one, the one who needed approval. They did not realize I had already buried that version of myself. 6 months after they stood on my porch, a letter arrived, not handwritten, typed, formal, from a law firm. My parents were contesting Uncle Richard's trust. They claimed undue influence, manipulation, mental instability. They wanted control, not connection. Control. For a moment, just one. My chest tightened. Old fear tried to wake up. But then I smiled, because Uncle Richard had prepared for this. His lawyer called me. They have no chance. Everything is locked. Every asset protected. Every document airtight. Your uncle planned for every scenario. The case was dismissed in 3 weeks. No court. No battle. No drama. Just silence. And after that, they disappeared again. This time for good. Years passed. My business expanded. Properties multiplied. My health stabilized. I married a man who knew my scars before my story, who loved my silence, who respected my boundaries. We built a home filled with peace, not noise, Not chaos, not competition. Peace. Sometimes I still scroll through old photos, not to feel pain, but to remember. To remember who I survived and why I will never allow myself to shrink again. Because the little girl who lay on an operating table alone